5:22. I was in a world of black and white. I saw an old-style MG sports car, the kind that was back in the 60s. You'd recognize it. Very small, compact, very specific-looking wheels, and usually a red sports car. The first part of this place was like a mechanic shop, and that's where I saw this car. And by the way, when I say black and white, I mean that everything was in black and white. It was like the old time TV shows, except, well, I was actually seeing things in black and white. There was a man with a mustache, light skinned. He seemed to be heading up the place. I tried to speak to him, but he couldn't hear or see me. I moved on. The facility was very large. There was a group of people that were watching me from a table. Now, I'd gone from being in this place that I almost considered to be almost like a mechanic shop where I saw this car to being in this huge auditorium. And then approaching this table that had a group of people in it. Now, I don't know how I knew to do this, and this is where the experience gets strange. I start to do what I think of and what I consider to be Tai Chi. And for those of you who don't know what Tai Chi is, it's a form of martial arts, but it's a very kind of meditative, very slow form of martial arts. Now, I start to do this in an attempt to show these people that I can defend myself. Again, I'm not sure why I'm doing this at this point. It's as if another part of me is kind of in control in a sense, but I am also in control. As I'm moving, I did see a symbol on my hand, which was very interesting. Now, as I was doing this demonstration for this group of people, I don't think they still were convinced. Then I looked up into the air, I looked upward, and then I jumped up, flew around, and then came right back down again. And this was as if to say, yes, I can defend myself. And yes, whatever threat is coming, and there was this sense that there was a threat coming, I would be able to handle it. Welcome to Sunday. That was one of the experiences I didn't talk about with you guys because it was very strange, and I wasn't sure how to approach this because, not all of my experiences are quite clear. And one of the things I was wondering for a while was why I was doing this Tai Chi thing. I guess it was sort of a translation, perhaps, that was happening with me. I'm not 100% sure. My mom and I have kind of talked about it. We have our theories. And for now, I'll just say that the thought is that, there are more aspects to me than being a traveler. I am other things out there as well, as I'm certain that you are. But today, and one of the reasons why I brought this up was for the reason of flight. I'd like to discuss what's possible out there for those of you who are shifting and what's possible in different realities. I thought I'd give you kind of a sense or a taste, although I have posted many, many videos on I would say many of these things, but I don't know that I've ever discussed it all in one place. Now, I want, for those of you who are listening to this that are thinking in terms of astral projection, I am talking really about shifting, but it is also my thought, and I continue to think this. I haven't brought this up lately, but I continue to think that there is a connection between astral projection and shifting. And I believe that it is possible to shift from one state to another if one can change or adjust their frequency. That is still my belief. I've not had the opportunity to still test this to a certain degree, although certain things have happened to make me think that this is possible. But what I'm talking about today is shifting realities and what things have been possible when I have shifted realities. Now, the first thing I'd like to talk about is actually transitioning from this 3D reality to different realities, excuse me. So one of the things that I have discovered, and I know that the shifting community has probably always known that this was possible, but one of the things that I've discovered was the ability to control exactly where I was going. And by the way, if you've been listening to my videos since 2019, you will know, if you go way back then, the vast majority of the shifts that happened to me seemed to be random. And now this was a subject that I just talked about with you, I think last Sunday, about shifting to random places. But that was the vast majority of my shifts in the very beginning. I didn't realize that you could actually kind of control where you were going. And it wasn't until I think that first DR experience where I went to a place where it was raining. And I simply wanted to go to a place where it was raining to just test things. That's when I really realized, well, I can go and choose where I want to go. So that's one of the things that I believe is possible. You can choose it. Now, you can choose between going to a desired reality or wherever you'd like to go, or you can go to a random reality. Now, I talked about random realities before, and now I want to kind of talk about the DR situation, because my approach, I think, is different from most out there and from the community at large. My approach really is this, and I will give this as a suggestion, especially for those of you who are just starting out in shifting. Leave some space. This is one of the reasons why I keep things simple. All I thought about was, I want to go to a place where it's raining. That was my desired reality. What ended up happening was, once I got there, I was, if you've listened to this, I'm not sure, certainly not everyone that's listening to me now has listened to that particular one, but I was in this small town, or at least that's what it seemed to be. Now, the town was called, or the city was called Scholastic. That's what someone told me when I had gone outside and I saw the rain, and there was this storm raging, and the ocean was spraying up in the air. And I actually saw a house from this small, it was little colonial town, and it kind of reminded me of what I would think a town in Maine would be. And this house came out into the water and sailed over the water like it was a boat. It was absolutely amazing, an astonishing thing that I saw. And I think it was because I left it open. I'm not trying to script things down to every single detail and say, these are the things that I need to have, because, well, I am an explorer, and I've said this before, and I love exploration, and I love discovery, and I love meeting other beings, and I've met some beings that have been absolutely amazing, incredible beings. So my suggestion is, um, you know, leave it open. Leave things open. The other thing that is very interesting for me that I love to do and love to discover in these different realities is the ability to fly. Now, this does not this is not the case in every reality. In fact, I remember going to a reality early on, where I actually tried to jump up into the air and fly and went right back to the ground. Like I had weight. So for me, flight isn't always possible. So it's always interesting to find out, to discover if there's flight. Now, the difference between flying when I go to another reality and flying in astral projection, this is very interesting. When I'm astral projecting, it's just natural to fly. I feel so light. I feel like I can just go anywhere. I feel like, I don't really have weight. But there is something so interesting and so intense about jumping into the air when you have weight. It's like you're walking around now, right? For those of you, maybe you're walking around, you're going to school or you're going to work. You just look up in the air and you fly, and that's what it feels like, because I can actually feel my weight, and that is pretty intense. So flying is awesome in other realities because I'm feeling that weight. It makes me feel more like Superman, and Superman's always been kind of my favorite super character. The other thing is I have gone to places where I've had strength, super strength. And this was another thing that I talked about in another video, where I went outside into this place. There was a garage. I could see this garage, and there was this tiny light in the garage, and it looked like, so there were people working, and there was a fence. And I heard these people say something like, "Oh, there's one over there. There's one right now over there." And I got the sense that they were talking about me, but I was thinking, man, are they talking about me? Like, there's one what? What are they talking about? And so then these two kids, they look like kids, they come up, they go, through the fence or whatever. They open the fence, they come through, and one has a wrench, and one of them threw the wrench at me angrily. Like, again, I didn't do anything to, at least I didn't think I did anything to offend this person. I took the wrench and then I bent it. I mean, literally, I bent it. It was steel, and I bent it and I tossed it on the ground, and the kids walked away from me. So, and that's not the only time. I've had other situations, but that was one of the more interesting times when I had that sense that I was super, super strong. And it was very interesting, very, very interesting. So strength is another thing that I've experienced there. I have also, this was an interesting thing. And this happened during one of my early shifts. I was in an area where it looked like I was walking down this sidewalk, and there was a bus stop. And I walked past the bus stop. I was just looking around and I think that the city or the place I was in looked very similar to the 3D world. And there were 3 or 4 guys that were following me, and I got the sense that they weren't going to either come at me or something. They were saying stuff to me. They were like, I don't recall the exact words, but it was, let's just say that their intentions weren't good. And when I looked at them, I thought to myself, okay, again, this was natural, as they were starting to come toward me. And all I did, I remember this, I still remember this. All I did was say, sleep. And they fell down and they went to sleep. They fell down and they went to sleep. I backed away, and then I came back. Now, for those of you who are perhaps Marvel fans, perhaps your desired reality is to go to the Marvel universe and to be there, or, you're a fan in general of the whole super being thing or whatever, I really want to make it clear to you that it's not something I really think about. Like when I'm in another place, the only thing I really think about doing is flying. The other stuff I will only do if I have to do it. The other part to this is the fact that I'm still learning what's possible out there. And the fact is, I'm still learning who I am. I mean, yes, again, I am a traveler, but I'm more than that. And that's what I'm kind of discovering bit by bit, piece by piece. I mean, we are so many different things, but I'm still learning. And part of my hope for you is to learn once you do get to that point where you can go to these places. I really want you to keep your mind open, and I want you to experiment and to see what is possible for you, because what's possible for me, these are things that are strengths and other things that I have, but more than likely you'll have your own unique abilities when you're out there. So I want you to explore those abilities once you are able to go out there and see. And a part of that, again, is to keep your mind as open as possible to explore the possibilities. Anyway, I've gone way too long. Thank you so much for coming on this journey, this Sunday journey with me. And until next time, take care.